Welcome back. Today I am talking about using the elliptical for exercise. Should I use it before exercise? When should I use it? So I have a friend who had pain in both of her knees and she had pain going down into her shin. Maybe she had shin splints. She wasn't sure. Her doctor told her just to rest, stay off her legs as much as she could to let her shins and knees heal. He insisted that in order for her shins to heal, that they just needed rest. I've done a whole other video and written another blog post about it. I'll link it in the comments here. Check it out by clicking that link. But once she got back into her exercise routine, she asked me if the elliptical was good to use. And this is a great question because the elliptical is a great way to exercise. You can use the elliptical to warm up before other exercises. You can use it as your exercise to improve your cardiovascular fitness. You can build up strength and you can use it to cool down after another workout. So using an elliptical to warm up for exercise. So she had asked me when should she use it? And really, you can use it before, during, after, at any point for your exercise. When you use it to warm up, you may end up changing, and you will end up changing the settings a bit. So how to use the elliptical to warm up. When you use the elliptical to warm up, it's just a little bit different. You use the lowest settings. You use it for 5 to 10 minutes for your warm up. And you use your arms and your legs equally to make sure that your joints are going through as full of a range of motion as possible. You want to keep it on a low setting and just generally go. You're not aiming to work too hard. So that's how you use it for a warm up. How do you use it for cardiovascular fitness? When you use the elliptical for cardio, you'll want to use it at a higher level than just for your warm up or cool down, and you want to go faster. So you'll warm up either by using the elliptical at a lower setting or walking, marching in place, doing another exercise, maybe you lift weights, and then use a setting that challenges you and increases your heart rate to 50 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. So you're not using quite the lowest setting, and you're going fast enough to put yourself out of breath and utilize your heart. So you want to go fast enough so that you have a high revolutions per minute, and the machine will tell you. And so you want to have it go fast because that will get your cardiovascular fitness up. That's what gets your heart pumping. And you want to do it for 50 to 70% of your max heart rate. Then you'll always want to cool down, change those settings back down to the lowest settings and do a gentle cool down. And then stretch after using the elliptical, and make sure that you incorporate strength training on other days or the same day, depending on your fitness level. But don't just do cardio and stretching. You also need to incorporate strength training. So that could be strength machines at the gym, dumbbells, barbells, resistance bands. You could also use the elliptical for strength training as well. So how to use the elliptical for strength training. You'll warm up, again, either using the elliptical at the lowest settings. Maybe you'll walk, maybe you'll march in place, do another form of exercise. And then you're going to want to use the elliptical at the highest setting you can tolerate, at the highest resistance level that you can tolerate, so that you have to go slow and challenge your muscles in your legs and your arms to push you. So this setting will be high intensity and you're going to have to move slow because it's so challenging. So your revolutions per minute is going to be low compared to the warm up or compared to your cardio use on the elliptical. Then you'll cool down by changing the setting you used, changing the setting back to the one you used for a warm up. Stretch after using the elliptical, and make sure that you're incorporating cardiovascular fitness either by walking, running, the elliptical, swimming, riding a bike, because you don't just want to do strength training and stretching, you also need the cardiovascular fitness. Okay, so an example of using the elliptical for cardio. You warm up on the lowest setting for 5 to 10 minutes. Then you do the cardio for, then you use the elliptical for cardio, and you do that for 30 minutes. So that is at a higher resistance level, but you still need high revolutions per minute. So you need to go fast. So you need to choose a resistance level where you can still go fast, get your heart rate up to 50 to 70% of your max heart rate. Once you've done that for 30 minutes, cool down for 5 minutes, and then go and stretch. An example of using the elliptical for strength training, I do it a little bit different for time. So you warm up on the lowest setting for 5 minutes, and then you increase the resistance to something that's really challenging so that you have to go slow, but not so challenging that you can't do it for 20 minutes. So strength training on the elliptical, I recommend 20 minutes. So high resistance, low revolutions per minute, and then cool down for 5 minutes on the lowest setting, the same setting you used for your warm up, and then go and stretch. Remember, a well-balanced routine is stretching, cardio, and strength, and you may incorporate some endurance and balance training in there as well. So how do you decide if you want to use the elliptical for a warm-up or for the actual routine? And you can do both, but if you're not sure which to do, think about these questions. And I'm going to use it in relation to your knees because that's the question that specifically prompted this video. So, do your knees feel good when you elliptical? Do your knees feel like they need more of a warm-up before you get on the elliptical? And then is the elliptical a fun way for you to exercise? So let's talk about the first one. Do your knees feel good using the elliptical? If your knees don't really like the elliptical and feel like they're stuck and in pain, you may want to consider something else to warm up before you get on the elliptical. You want to get those joints moving, the fluid lubricating those joints to make them feel good. So you may consider walking, marching in place, or doing some other mobility exercises before you hop on the elliptical. The second question is related to the first question. If it feels like your knees are really tight before getting on the elliptical and the elliptical doesn't loosen them up, then consider walking, marching in place, or other mobility exercises for a warm-up. Sometimes the elliptical doesn't warm up your knees because the knees can't go through the full range of motion to get that lubrication lining the whole joint. So you may just do marching or some other mobility exercise like ham curls or heel slides before hopping on the elliptical. And then the third question, if the elliptical is a fun way for you to exercise and you plan to stay on it for more than 5 to 10 minutes, then use the elliptical for your whole workout. And if your joints don't need much of a warm-up, much else of a warm-up before you get on the elliptical, use the elliptical for the warm-up itself on the lowest settings. So I personally don't like staying on the elliptical for a long time. It's boring for me. And I feel like I get out of a rhythm. I don't like it. So I don't use it as my cardio or my strength training, but I love to use it as a warm-up before I go and run. Especially if I'm at the gym and I'm going to use the treadmill, I will go hop on the elliptical, warm up, loosen up my joints, loosen up my muscles for 5 to 10 minutes before I go and run. So that's when I use it as a warm up. Some people love the elliptical and they'll stay on it for 20, 30 more. They'll stay on it longer. And so then you might consider, depending on how your knees feel, you might consider using it as a warm up or not. It's really, it doesn't matter. I know that's not the answer you want to hear. You want a finite answer of yes, use it as warm up. No, don't use it as warm up. You can. It depends on how your knees feel. If your knees feel like they get warmed up from the elliptical, use the elliptical as a warm up. If you like to use the elliptical as a long-standing exercise, stay on the elliptical after a warm up and change the settings. You can always warm up a different way if you want. Some people don't need to warm up a different way. Just doing the elliptical at the lowest setting is good for them. And if you're doing a whole strength routine separate from the elliptical, hop on the elliptical for the warm up for that. Okay, so let's recap. The elliptical is a great way to exercise. It can be used to warm up, cool down, and for the days of exercise for cardio and strength training. To use the elliptical in different ways, you would change the resistance level on the elliptical to make it easier and gentle for a warm up or a cool down. You would have low to moderate resistance with high revolutions per minute for cardio, and you would have high resistance, high level resistance, and low revolutions per minute for strength training. For more tips and tricks, follow my page.